This is We All Be News Free Dixie for the 21st century. See how it works? Somewhere. Can you dig it?
And so just want you to know. Man, I looked at that smile on your face just now. And the first time I ever wished I was a photographer to take that picture and let the world see that honesty and that integrity. And know some of the things I know, how you drive all over the country to chase us down. Chase us down. Okay? We move so fast. I don't know if you're married. I don't know if you're a family. I don't know if you're a wife. Okay? But when we get on here, we bosom friends. Anytime I see you, I stop whatever I'm doing. Hey, my man, how are you? Hey. Hey, man, what, that's, I owe that to you. It's an obligation that you have. How old are you?
Oh, 36.
Well, you don't have the right to do what 36 people do. You don't have the right to go to the dance or go to the party. You don't have a right to take that trip to Europe when I might need that plane fare to fly somebody else to feed my people that love me. Mm-hmm. You feed them. Oh, it's one thing being hungry from food. Right. There's another thing being hungry for information.
That's right.
And that's you to feed them. You got to be the farmer. You got to grow the crop. Huh? You got to till the grain. And at nighttime, when you hear something that sounds like water, you got to go see if the crop's going to be flooded. That's your job, man.
Hey, everybody, this is Brother Ron. I am asking you all to do me a big favor. Think about supporting the We All Be movement. Your donation is tax deductible. The We All Be Group Incorporated is a recognized 501c3. And I'm just asking you all because I want to keep on bringing y'all quality work through the way that I know how to do best. And I'm going to sing my praises and toot my horn. A lot of y'all were not hip to Dick Gregory until Brother Ron brought him on the We All Be platform, until that Django review we did. Y'all seen another side of Judge Joe Brown, and Judge Joe Brown's message has been amplified. But it was We All Be that brought Judge Joe Brown to y'all back in 2014. And so many others. And we covered so many things. So help us out so we can help you all. Peace.
Time for me to get, and I use this room as my office desk.
Guess who's back and still black? Brother Ron. Tell a friend. Guess who's back and still black? Guess who's back and still black? Hope the Wi-Fi is holding up. I hope you can hear me. This is Brother Ron, and welcome to We All Be News Free Dixie for the 21st century. That's We All Be News Free Dixie for the 21st century. This is your host with the mostest. This is Brother Ron, also known as R2C2H2, the artivist. Just want to do a quick as possible live. We're all the way live. We all be all the way live, man. And you know this, man. We thank y'all for tuning out, to tune in, to get in where you fit in. We're just day one out of the Mercury retrograde, or like some of my friends say, Mercury Gatorade. Let me see. Oh yeah, we'll talk about Ja Morant. I'm thinking Reverend Ja Morant, Brother Willis. Thank you for tuning out to tune in to get in where you fit in. Good evening, Brother Lucis Tate. We love you, Matinee. And who is this? You owe me a donation because we all be in it to win it. I'm providing you free infotainment, but nothing's really free, my man. Or I don't know if you're a man or a woman or a they damn pronoun mob. I don't know. But my day will come. It's not really about supporting Trump. It's about supporting what is best for the people. And I don't know where y'all been the last 2 to 3 years. Is this really the best we could do for the American people? And the answer is no, a capital N-O. So everybody's entitled to their opinions, like everybody, have certain type of orifices. Let me see. Thank you, Brother Jermaine. I don't need Brother Jermaine. Thank you for the donation. Thank you so much. So guess who's back and still black? So Brother Wild or whatever, who you are your pronoun, man. I'm not gonna. My truth does not need your dollars to keep on going. My truth does not need your dollars to keep on going. Yeah, man, it looked like it. That town hall was extraordinary. Trump is that guy, and I'm thinking, would it be nice to have a Donald Trump RFK Jr. Unity ticket? We have Donald Trump and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on a ticket together. America's Most Wanted. Ain't nothing but a truther party. Ain't nothing but a truther party. I'm for truth, no matter who tells it. I'm for justice. I'm just like Brother Malcolm. I'm for truth and justice. I don't care about the messenger. I'm more concerned about the message. You see how it works. So we're gonna get right into it. I'm just warming up. Thank you, Brother Jermaine, once again for the donation. And thank you all that will donate in the future, who have donated in the past, because the marathon continues and we're gonna make it last. You see how it works. But there's a lot going on in the news cycle. I can't do everything, talk about everything. And like I said, to the people who are here for the right reasons, you are very much welcome. To all the people who are so-called frenemies, you are welcome as well, but you would not be acknowledged. Okay, you would not be acknowledged because, and you know who you are, they, them, him, he, she, whatever. Because we about to get on with the people business. But thank you all for tuning out, to tune in to get in when you fit in. And happy Mother's Day. This past weekend has flown by so fast. Actually, Sunday is actually the first day of the week. I know a lot of people think it's the weekend. No, Sunday is when the week begins. Sunday is when the week begins. So I think I want to offer perspective on a couple of things. That Tupac song is perfect for Ja Morant. But you know what's funny about Ja Morant's situation? What did he really do wrong? What did he really do wrong? Think about what I'm saying, because what was his crime? Like Tennessee is an open and carry state, right? That means you don't need a license or registration to carry a gun in Tennessee. Tennessee, Tennessee, Tennessee. Take me to another place. Take me to another land. Help me understand the plan. Why don't you help me? So we in Tennessee, is open and carry in Tennessee. Not for Hennessy, but for guns, you see, because it's Tennessee. So did y'all really do anything wrong? I mean, image-wise, maybe he might have a morality clause in his contract, but did he break any laws? I mean, yeah, he flashed the gun again on Instagram Live. Yeah. But did he commit any crime? Poor judgment, yes, but should he lose it all for being human, for erring? He is young, but then I gotta wonder, what is really going on with Ja? Is this a cry for help? Is he really in that sunken place? What's going on with Ja? Thank you for receiving. I appreciate it. Charles Wright, brother Charles Wright, is a wealth of information. He's a true national treasure. Looking forward to having him on again. But the Jesse Belvin thing, I may touch on Jesse Belvin a little bit today or tonight's show because Jesse Belvin actually did die at 27. I think brother Charles said it was 32, but he was 27 and his wife, I believe, was 23, who was his manager. And but you tell Jesse had an old soul, man. He he was very mature for his age, and he wrote a lot of songs he don't get credit for. But there's there's a lot of black artists like that. Like he talked about Fetch Waller. He saw Ain't Misbehaving recently. I'm talking about brother Charles Wright. Express yourself. You can do it. And Fetch Waller wrote a lot of songs that the white folks didn't give him credit for as well too. But that's another story for another day. He said, okay, we're going to talk about that tonight a little bit. You said, George Richard, he didn't harm anybody. He harmed himself, and he's harming that bag, that generational wealth bag for his family. But, it's all about, the comeback at the end of the day. He has the potential of a great American story. Of the comeback kid. We'll see. Ja just, it's hard to believe he's just 23. And you think about it, they basically gave him the keys to the kingdom in his early 20s. I mean, the $200 million contract with the Grizzlies. I mean, he got a lot all at one time. So I'm trying to be understanding, but I don't understand. I'm trying to be understanding, but I don't understand. Trying to be understanding, but I don't understand, man. Thank you, Sister Yvette. We love you madly. Thank you so much, Sister Yvette. That's gonna go a long ways in the tank. And so let's talk about this. Let's get into the Ja Rule Morant. Because it's murder. No, it's not murder. Ja. Let me see. Trying to see something. I'll try to find the history in everything that goes down. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to look for the history, the story behind the story. Trying to see. Is this the screen? Okay, this is what I want to pull up. Thought I had the thing up. I like these type of moments in our history, in our present. I could tell stories. Okay, the first time. Okay, this guy right here. This is John Marshall Alexander Jr., also known as Johnny Ace. He was a pioneer R&B blues singer. Some people consider him the first rock and roll star. He actually was the most popular black male singer in America during the early 1950s. His career was very brief. Unfortunately, he died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. He was actually playing around with his gun Christmas night, 1954, at the City Auditorium in Houston, Texas. And so Johnny Ace, you got to think about Johnny Ace was so big during his time. Johnny Ace is really he's from Memphis. He was born June the 9th, 1929 in Memphis, Tennessee. His father was a preacher man, came from a large family, but he was very gifted musically. He was like a music prodigy. He was the type of dude that could play anything he put his hands on. He didn't have any formal instruction on instruments, but he could play anything he put his hands on. He was gifted at piano. And he had a unique voice. He was like a black man who sounded like a crooner, a white crooner. he had a white crooner's voice to a certain degree. And he was a high school dropout at Booker T. Washington High School in South Memphis. He joined, I believe, the Navy, but ended up getting discharged because I think he AWOL. I think it was the Navy, but ended up joining the Bill Streeters. Now, I don't know if y'all ever heard of the Bill Streeters. This was a super blues group, super rhythm and blues group that included the likes of not only Johnny Ace, but also B.B. King. Yes, that B.B. King. Bobby Blue Bland. Yes, that Bobby Blue Bland. Junior Parker, Earl Forrest. Can't think of Roscoe Gordon, and some other heavyweights in blues. They were like the Wu-Tang of blues back in the 50s. I remember I had met Bobby Blue Bland the year before he passed at the historic MAGA unveiling for the Royal Studios, where Al Green and so many other greats recorded their classic songs. And I told Bobby Blue Bland that I was a big fan of Johnny Ace and that I loved the Bill Streeters. I said the Bill Streeters were like the Wu-Tang Clan of the blues. And he like looked at me like, he just with a death stare. And I said, oh, wait a minute. My bad, Mr. Blue Bland. I'm saying that Wu-Tang were like the Bill Streeters of hip hop and rap. See, that's right, son. Now you got it. That's right. Now you got it. But Johnny Ace became a breakout star because what happened was he recorded this song called My Song that was really meant for Bobby Blue Bland to record. The guy who founded Duke Records was not Don Roby, was a white dude that worked at WDIA, which was the first radio station program for the black consumer in the country. So black radio was actually invented in Memphis, Tennessee back in October of 1948, WDIA. So, B.B. King was a disc jockey, a DJ for WDIA back in the day. The great Rufus Thomas, Collar Thomas, the great Collar Thomas's father, he was also a DJ. Nat D. Williams, great historian and lover of all things Memphis. He was one of the first black radio DJs at WDIA. So Johnny Ace, I think he did some shows at WDIA as well too. But the guy who founded Duke Records was a white man who worked at WDIA named Dave Mattis. He wanted to record Bobby Blue Bland, but Bobby Blue Bland was functionally illiterate. He couldn't read. He actually couldn't read. Not just read music. Bobby Blue Bland could not read. He was functionally illiterate, kind of like R. Kelly, at one point was functionally illiterate. So Dave Mattis gave the music sheet, the sheet music, whatever, the lyrics to Johnny Ace. Johnny Ace sung My Song, and the rest was history. Johnny Ace was interesting. His solo career was less than 3 years long. So he was less than 3 years long. Johnny Ace was so big among black people in America that if you wanted Johnny Ace to be your headliner, you had to get either B.B. King, Bobby Blue Bland, or Little Richard. Woo! Little Richard, woo! As the opening acts. Think about what I just said. Johnny Ace was such a big draw as far as music in Black America during the early 50s. You either had to get B.B. King, Bobby Blue Bland, or Little Richard as his opening acts. All three of them guys are certifiable music legends, right? But yet, Johnny Ace is kind of forgotten about today in 2023. Bobby Blue Bland, B.B. King, Little Richard, they are all in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Johnny Ace is not in anybody's Hall of Fame outside the Jimmy Lunsford Legacy Awards Hall of Fame, right? The reason why I bring up Johnny Ace with Ja Morant, because both of you guys are Memphis legends, right? Very popular among their people through their crafts. They're very gifted artists, but they had a thing about guns. Johnny Ace was known for carrying guns on the road. He was like, when they be driving in the van or the bus or in the car, he was known for using his gun to shoot at signs on the road. Like he would actually take shots at signs as they was driving from gig to gig on the road. Sometimes Johnny Ace had a thing with the gun where he would take a gun, point it at people, and pull the trigger, and nothing happens. He would actually take his gun and point it at people and pull the trigger, and nothing would happen. Sometimes he might point the gun at himself and pull the trigger, and nothing would happen. So, unfortunately, his luck ran out. Christmas night, 1954, City Auditorium in Houston, Texas, doing a Christmas concert that featured his bandmate Big Mama Thornton, or his label mate Big Mama Thornton. You ain't nothing but a hound dog. The woman who sung "You Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog," right? She was his label mate at Duke Records. Johnny Ace, uh, less than 3-year career, right? Be on the road. Do you understand how it was to travel back in the day doing one nighters? Like Johnny Ace was doing one nighters for almost 3 years. Sometimes them guys had to drive hundreds of miles between gigs. They had to drive several hundred miles to go to the next gig. So that's wear and tear on anybody. You know, even a 25-year-old could get tired of the road. So Johnny, you know, I guess he was bored, waiting for his turn on stage, or he already went on stage to do his set. He got his girlfriend Olivia Gibbs in his lap backstage, right? Now, mind you, Johnny was married to his high school sweetheart back home in Memphis, but he was rarely ever home. He was always on the road. So he had his girlfriend, his beautiful petite sister named Olivia Gibbs, in his lap. He pointed the gun at her, pulled the trigger, nothing happens. He's pointing the gun at different people in the dressing room, pulling the trigger, nothing happens. People getting scared. Say, "Wait a minute, Johnny, why the hell you pointing the gun at us, man?" Then Big Mama Thornton told Johnny, "Look, Johnny, stop pointing that gun at everybody. You gonna get somebody hurt here." I don't know, it's so many varying stories what happened in that moment. Some people claim that Big Mama Thornton took his gun and gave it back to him. The other folks said that didn't happen. But what we do know is that Johnny Ace was trying to prove to people, hey, y'all, the gun is not loaded. He said the gun is not loaded. He said, I'm gonna prove to y'all the gun ain't loaded. Mind you, he pointed this gun at his girlfriend head, and she's right on his lap. So Johnny, to show to the people that the gun was not loaded, nothing would happen, he pointed the gun. So they'll say that he played Russian roulette. He didn't play Russian roulette. He was just going around pointing the gun at people. People did not like for him to point the gun at them. So he just go around pointing his gun, pulling the trigger, nothing happened. So finally, when he pointed the gun at himself, pulled the trigger. Now it's a story. Johnny Otis. Johnny Otis was a Greek American R&B music legend. Now Johnny Otis, he was born a white man. He was a Greek from California, but he wanted to be black. He passed for the rest of his life as a black man. He married a black woman, had a black family. I think his son wrote that Strawberry Letter 23. Strawberry Letter 23. I think his son wrote that. But anyway, Johnny Otis claimed that when Johnny Ace pulled that trigger and the gun went off, that Johnny was so shocked by the gun going off and hit him in the head, the bullet hit him in the head, that his processed hair, you see how Johnny got his hair kind of fried and laid to the side? Or you can't tell in that picture. But his hair stood up on end. He said he was so shocked by what happened that his hair stood on end and he died. The late, great Johnny Ace. Johnny Ace's funeral was in Memphis, Tennessee, at Claiborne Temple, downtown Memphis, near Beale Street. About 5,000 people came out. He was laid to rest in New Park Memorial. And Johnny Ace was just 25 years old when he was playing around with his gun and his luck ran out. Now, Ja Morant is 23 and he's playing around with his gun. Imagine if Johnny Ace and them had IG back then, Instagram, if they had social media. I mean, Johnny Ace and them probably have a good time. But my thing is this. You got two Memphis legends. They have a thing for the gun. at an early age. One of them is no longer here. He died in 1954 Christmas night playing around with his gun. Another one, like he was warned about playing around with his gun, and then he do the same thing again a couple months later on the Instagram live. And here we are. And people worry about, what happened to Ja Morant. Well, I just show you what happened to Johnny Ace. Now, Johnny Ace was interesting. Like I said, he was a black man who sounded white. Now, I was interested about Johnny Ace. Johnny Ace dies when Elvis is on the rise. Elvis is a white guy that sounds black. Johnny Ace was a black dude that sounded white. Johnny Ace grew up in a house in South Memphis. He had a home. The family home still exists in South Memphis. It needed a historic marker in front of it. This is where the late, great Johnny Ace grew up. Elvis grew up in the projects in North Memphis. You see how everything's kind of ebony and ivory, everything kind of switch around? Elvis is from North Memphis, grew up in the projects. Johnny Ace from South Memphis grew up in a household, had a home. His father had a home. So, but as soon as he died, that's when Elvis on the rise. But here's the thing about Johnny Ace that I want y'all to know as well. Johnny Ace, last song that he recorded was Pledging My Love. Pledging My Love was a posthumous hit for Johnny Ace back in 1955 when he was already dead. It was his biggest hit, but he was dead. He was a dead man, so he couldn't enjoy it. So I believe that was the first #1 posthumous hit for an artist. Now they'll probably tell you Otis Redding was the first #1 Billboard hit, I guess, Sitting on the Dock of a Bay. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. Y'all look this up. I want to say that Otis Redding is credited with being the first #1 Billboard hit for a dead artist. Was Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. I'm not sure. But Johnny Ace had a #1 with Pledging My Love. And I believe it was on the Race Records chart. I don't think it was over the overall Billboard, but he was a very successful artist in his short period on the earth. But Pledging My Love was interesting because, back in the day, during that time, when a black artist had a hit song or hit record, the white record executives would try to get a white artist of lesser talent to cover that artist's hit. Like, think about, for example, I talked about Little Richard being an opening act for Johnny Ace. Little Richard had a lot of hit songs like Tutti Frutti and all that stuff, but the white music executives would take somebody like a Pat Boone to cover Little Richard's Tutti Frutti. Now, Pat Boone's music ain't nowhere on the level of a Little Richard. Little Richard's on another level. Little Richard was amazing. He was amazing. So with Johnny Ace, they try to use white artists to cover Pledge My Love, but it could never overtake Johnny Ace's original take on Pledge My Love. So it was a crossover hit, and that opened the doors for the likes of Ray Charles and the Fats Domino. Fats been around, Fats Domino actually been around before Johnny Ace. But it opened the door for what was to come in terms of Sam Cooke and Ray Charles and Jackie Wilson. Black artists having mainstream success, but Johnny had to die for it. But I bring up Johnny Ace because, like I said, Ja Morant, if he's not careful, could be heading that same way, like the late great Johnny Ace, with his fetish for playing around with guns or gunplay, allegedly. But yeah, there's a wrestler. Yeah, Johnny Ace. Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, race music, right? Exactly. But it reminds me. That the past is never past. But Ja Morant, it looks bad, but I don't think it's that bad, man. People like to compare Ja Morant to let me move this to Allen Iverson and stuff like that. It was different for Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson, I mean, they didn't have social media back then, but the NBA made a whole dress code to try to counter the impact of Allen Iverson on the culture. But Allen Iverson came from, he came from the dirt, man. Ja seemed like he came from a good 2-parent household. His dad is a professional barber. I don't know what his mom does, but he's like he came from a good family. So it makes me wonder what happened to him to make him act the way he acts. Like it reminds me of that Tupac song, "Shorty Wanna Be a Thug." Shorty wanna be a thug. It reminds me of that. Because, like, man, he got all. You know how many people want to be a professional basketball players on the level of a Ja Morant? There's only so many slots in the NBA, and here he is one of the chosen, making like a whole bunch of money, but yet he doesn't know what to do with himself. And it would be disappointing if I really cared about celebrity on that level. You know, it's interesting. Ja Morant is the face of a franchise in one of America's blackest and poorest cities. You know, Memphis is one of America's blackest and poorest city, but it's not really poor. That's the trick that they tell people. There's a lot of resources in Memphis, but it's not distributed across the demographic like it should be. You know, it's a plantation economy. They don't want to empower black people here in Memphis. Like I tell people all the time, the difference between Memphis and Atlanta is that white folks in Atlanta and Georgia, they love money more than they hate black people. But in Memphis, white folks hate black people more than they love money. That's the difference. They don't want to share the wealth at no level at all, no love. Uh, but you know, he's in this city causing all this crazy stuff on social media. Ja could do so much good for the people of Memphis, for the black folks of Memphis. Ja, it's so many things. Like Memphis been in the headlines of the national media for several months because of the Tyree Nichols tragedy, right? Ja could have used some of his influence and resources to try to bring more awareness to what's going on in the hood, in the city of Memphis, in the city of Good Abode. He could have did things. I don't know all the things he does behind the scenes. I'm not gonna judge, but I'm saying he seemed to be lost in the sauce. Like it's funny. It's like the powers that be will give folks that don't really know who they are all the resources and the tools and even the weapons necessary to destroy themselves. They are willing to give somebody like Ja Morant all this money for him to piss it away. And we cannot blame his friends. I mean, you can, but it's not on his friends. They are only a mirror of who Ja really is. The people that he surrounds himself with are just his mirrors. So we can't blame so and so, whoever the entourage for what Ja does. Ja is doing what he wants to do. He has free will. But at the same time, it's like it's said that Ja could be so much more impactful for the city if he really cared about the issues that's facing everyday regular Memphians or Memphites, as my friend Ekpe Abioto would say, Memphites. But you know, the problem with a lot of these athletes is that they're so disconnected from the community that produces them. If you go back 60 years ago, you look at 55 years ago, whatever, you look at some of my sports icons from that era. You look at somebody like Muhammad Ali, who lost 2 to 3 years of his boxing prime, taking a morally sound stance. Like, think about what Muhammad Ali lost. You think that if he had enlisted in Vietnam, if he had went along with the draft, they would have put Muhammad Ali on the front lines to fight the Viet Cong? He was trying to maybe just be there for boxing exhibitions for morale purposes. But you got to remember, Joe Louis did a lot for this country with his boxing gifts. You know, he defeated Max Schmeling the second time around. And really, that was about not just a boxing fight. This was about a fight to so-called make the world safe for democracy. You know, Schmeling came out of Nazi Germany. Joe Louis was supposed to be the good guys in America. Man did free boxing exhibitions for Uncle Sam. Gave out free boxing tickets to his exhibitions for even donated like $1 million to the government. And yet the government used the IRS to destroy Joe Louis. And Joe Louis was a real patriot. He's buried in Arlington Cemetery. You know, Joe Louis is buried in Arlington Cemetery with full military honors. But yeah, he loved this country, but this country did not love him the way he loved this country. Joe Louis was a patriot. So I'm sure Muhammad Ali knew because he had dealings with Joe Louis. They were friends at a certain point. The powers that be were trying to do divide and conquer by, pitting Joe Louis against Muhammad Ali, the young versus the old versus the young, all this stuff. This is what they do. They want to divide and conquer us. Think about even like if I not just Joe Louis and Muhammad Ali, but think about how they sent Jackie Robinson to undermine Paul Robeson. And Paul Robeson didn't bite the bait. He didn't bite the bait. He didn't go for it. He didn't go for the loop-de-loop okey doke, Think about how Dizzy Gillespie and Louis Armstrong, these great trumpet players, were pitted against each other because Louis Armstrong played so-called traditional Dixieland jazz style, and then Dizzy was a pioneer architect of the bebop sound. People like Louis Armstrong and Cab Calloway, they consider that Chinese music. They didn't make any sense to them to play all that notes, the many notes and stuff, and they play that fast. So, but anyway, I'm sure Muhammad Ali also had that in mind. Even if he went along to get along, they still could do him like they did Joe Louis, who was he believed in America. He believed in being a patriot for the country, and they destroyed Joe Louis. So Muhammad Ali, he knew that, hey, when he was with the Louisville group, the white businessman who made his career, he had no problems with Uncle Sam. Soon as he got with Elijah Muhammad's son in the Nation of Islam, that's when he started having problems with Uncle Sam. So he knew he had protection because the white man, but then once he left the protection of the white man, they got at him. But anyway, you think about Muhammad Ali, you think about what Jim Brown and so many other black athletes try to do for the black community. See, the thing about it was, professional athletes back in the day, back in the 60s, they had to work second or third jobs just to make ends meet. I mean, in the off season, they made some money in their professional career, but they were not making as much money as a Ja Morant is making now in their careers. They still was close to the middle class and working class people of the community. So they actually had a still connection to the community. But you can recall recently that how Steph Curry didn't want them to build mixed income housing near his palatial home, right? He probably got a big mansion out in Cali, but he didn't want them to build mixed income housing near where he lived. But back in the day, a lot of people that even though they was on TV and stuff, they still were a part of that beloved community because they wasn't making that much more money than a middle class person at that time. I'm talking about these professional athletes in comparison to today. It was thank you, Law Dog. It's good to see you. Hope you come in here. So no. Exactly. They could relate. They will make them so. It's like like you look at Harry Belafonte. Harry Belafonte, he came up hard. You know what I'm saying? He was in the Navy. He was a military guy. He joined the Navy during World War II. But he started as a janitor before he became an actor. Before he became Harry Belafonte, he was a working class janitor. Sidney Poitier started as a janitor. Before they became who they became, they started from the bottom. And they had a connection with the people. They wasn't so insulated. You think about LeBron James. LeBron James is an all-time great, top 5, top 3, top 2 basketball player. But LeBron James was under a microscope. I guess even junior high school, they had him under a microscope. He didn't have a normal life where he could relate to the everyday people. He's been insulated from that as being a superstar athlete at a young age. He don't have those connections, but I'll applaud him for his efforts with his school and other things. But they never had to lose like Muhammad Ali had to lose something. They never had to endure what Jackie Robinson had to endure from the white masses when he was trying to play a kid's game. The stress that Jackie Robinson was under. Jackie Robinson died relatively young. I believe Jackie Robinson died in his 50s. But he had the body of an old man. I think he was legally blind by the time he died because of diabetes and other health issues. But he never felt the love of the country as far as being a so-called American hero. Y'all talk about Kaepernick. Jackie Robinson never stood for the flag during the national anthem. He refused to stand up to salute the flag during the national anthem or the Star Spangled Banner, whatever. And he talked about it in his autobiography. Y'all can look that up. Take a look. I think it's online. We talk about why he never saluted the flag during I think either the Star Spangled Banner or the national anthem. Y'all verify that for me and put it in the chat, because I got a lot on my mind. But Ja Morant making all this money. He's in one of the poorest big cities in the country. There's a disconnect. Ja Morant don't seem like he type of person to read books. I'm not knocking him. He don't seem like he's a reader. To me, he's too busy having fun as a 23-year-old guy who's very famous and very rich. So he can't relate to the everyday struggle of a person trying to decide if they could pay their light bill, or should they pay their car note, or should they pay their apartment rent, because they're going to have to lose something. Meanwhile, Ja Morant is giving away $50,000, $100,000 at strip clubs while he eating chicken wings and dangling a gun on IG Live. The average person cannot relate to the lifestyle, the opulence that Ja is living. But for him to want to throw all that away is interesting. See, to me, he's not spiritually fulfilled. Like, the NBA is not what it was cracked up to be. This celebrity lifestyle for him is not cracked up for what he thought it would be. I don't know him, I'm not a mind reader. I never met Ja Morant, but I don't think of him as a villain. Now, what's interesting, like I said, he's in Tennessee. This is an open and carry state. You don't even need a license or registration to carry a gun or have a gun in your person in Tennessee. Matter of fact, a lot of these car break-ins is really about taking guns out of people's cars. They are looking for guns in people's cars. Like, I be out hearing stories of people, they have PlayStations, and they even leave money, like hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in their cars. And the criminals or the thieves, they're not looking for money or PlayStations or iPhones. They just want a gun because it's open. So, I mean, you can make an argument that Ja Morant needs a gun, if not security. I mean, he got enough resources. He should get some bodyguards or security personnel like a Floyd Mayweather. I mean, Memphis is a dangerous city. Don't get it twisted. It's a dangerous city. But, you don't need to bring unneeded, unwarranted attention to yourself by dangling guns on social media. He also need a gun safety class. He need to take maybe Maj Toure or somebody that can help Ja learn how to handle a gun correctly. He don't want to end up like on Johnny Ace, shooting himself by accident on IG Live, nonetheless, as well too. But my thing is, there are so many things that Ja could do for the city. Like, he could weigh in on the political situation in Memphis. I don't think Ja said anything about the Tyree Nichols situation. I don't think Ja said anything about what happened to Gershon Freeman down in 201 Poplar, October 5th, 2022, when you had 20 sheriff deputies, men and women, beat a butt-naked black man to death. They beat a butt-naked 33-year-old black man to death in one of the worst jails in the country. 201 Poplar is considered to be worse than Rikers Island. Rikers Island is twice and then some the size of 201 Poplar. But 201 Poplar is said to be worse than Rikers Island up in New York City. 20 sheriff deputies, men and women, beat a butt-naked black man to death, who was a family man. This man was married. He had a daughter. People said, well, he was in prison for some type of kidnapping and domestic violence charges, allegedly. But I say to those people, he should have had his day in court. He should have had due process. He should not have been dead the way he was dead in the custody of the jailers, of the sheriff deputies. Sheriff Bonner, who was the first black sheriff of Shelby County, Tennessee, where Memphis is located, he runs that jail. The infrastructure is horrible at 201 Poplar. But it happened on his watch, and he's trying to run for mayor of Memphis, and yet you cannot control the situation at your jail. Think about Tyree Nichols. 5 black cops lost their jobs and were decertified. I believe they lost their certification, meaning that they can't get a job in law enforcement anywhere in this country of ours. Country of ours. I didn't stutter. I'm trying to pronounce my 3 Ks. Country of ours. You understand? But I don't think 20. What about the 20 sheriff deputies that participated in beating this man to death while he was naked, while he was bucky naked? I ain't hear about anybody getting fired from 201 Popular sheriff deputy. None, jailer, none, nobody. But you got the sheriff want to be mayor, and guess how crazy this is? The mayor race, the mayoral election for mayor of Memphis is October 5th, 2023, which will be the 1-year anniversary of the beating death of Gershon Freeman down at 201 Popular. So I don't think that Sheriff Bonner is going to be our next mayor because the universe so God don't play, man. So that's not a coincidence. But let me check this. Well, this is like, I hope they learn. Well, I don't know. 14-year-old, that's a good question. I know according to Police Chief Davis, that there are 11-year-olds carjacking people in the city. You got 11-year-old kids carjacking people. They could drive cars and they go rob people. This 11-year-old, but this is not just in Memphis, though. This is all over the planet or all over the country. Think about Chicago. They got some strict gun laws. New York got some strict gun laws, but there's still things going down. It's by design. It's programming, social media. It's what they do to our food, our water, our air, everything. It plays a part in dysfunction reality, in our collective dysfunctional reality. Okay, that's interesting to know. But yeah, but 201 Popular is way smaller than Rikers Island. Until I think last year they had 19 reported deaths at Rikers Island. And then I believe 201 Popular had 10 reported deaths. When they say reported, this means the ones that they'll let you know about. So there could have been way more deaths than 19 at Rikers Island. It could have been way more deaths than 10 at 201 Popular. But they go tit for tat. You know, there's things that happen in your city. You'd be surprised at the stuff that doesn't make the news. I talk to people that work for city government, and they'll tell me things with Brother Ron. You'd be surprised at the stuff that doesn't make the news. You know, Memphis got this reputation, but you'd be surprised at the crimes and crazy deaths that don't get reported by our local media, by our local news station. So they got a policy. It's like I talked to a sister I went to high school with, and she's talking about her aunt is a powerful administrator. She oversees the fire and police departments and stuff like that. And the auntie was telling her stuff, said, baby, don't you know there are a lot of things that is wrong with this city. There are horrible things being done, but it's not being reported, but should be reported. But it doesn't get reported. I heard this from two different people talking about, one person actually worked for the city, and she talking about how she was a dispatcher and she was hearing all these weird like situations, like people jumping off of buildings that don't get reported, and other things happening in Memphis that doesn't get reported. So there's a lot of things, a lack of transparency. That's a problem with so-called authority figures and institutions. How can you trust an institutional authority figure that won't be transparent in all their dealings with the people? So I mean, it's crazy. But the Ja Morant thing, and you look at the sports networks, I can't look at all that stuff they talking about because people, they say he's like Tupac, but Tupac knew how to use a gun correctly. Don't people want to just throw Tupac name out recklessly. They recklessly throw out Tupac's name just because it sounds good. Tupac was crazy. Tupac did a thing called revolutionary suicide. Tupac already knew that he wanted to die young, that he was fated to die young. He already prepared himself to die young. You gotta remember, Tupac mama was a Black Panther, Afeni Shakur, and Tupac knew about Fred Hampton, the one that did the movie about the Judas and the Black Messiah. But the dude was too old to play Fred Hampton. Fred Hampton was just 21 years old when they killed him in his bed. When the state assassinated Fred Hampton Sr., he was just 21 years old. They killed the defense captain, Mark Clark. He was 22, I believe. I interviewed Mark Clark's sister. She wrote a book about her amazing brother. And they knew their days were numbered, though. They knew that the Panthers been compromised. The Illinois Panther Party been compromised. But Tupac already knew he was going to die young. It was like, people don't understand, Tupac wasn't looking for nobody to save him. He already knew that he was going to die for the cause that was bigger than himself. He knew that's why he did all the things he did in a short period of time, because he knew time was not on his side. He didn't see himself living to be an old man. So I don't look at, when I compare, like Ja Morant, I don't know what the method to his madness is. If you want to get attention, if they want to be Tupac, Tupac actually did a lot of great things. Tupac knew how to handle a gun. Like I said, he shot them 2 off-duty police officers that were harassing black motorists. He didn't even know. He just, was being a good Samaritan and shot these police officers. I believe they were brothers, blood brothers. He shot them. He didn't kill them. He shot them in self-defense on behalf of the black motorists. And he beat the charges. And people don't talk about that. Oh, Tupac went to jail for sexual abuse. No, he didn't go to jail for, which I think he went to jail for. He went to jail for some other stuff. Like, he went to jail for improper touching of the buttocks. He didn't go to jail for no rape. He didn't rape her. It was consensual sex. He didn't sodomize her. He just went to jail because they wanted to put him in that place because of his background and his potential to influence the masses. See, Tupac knew. See, we keep on forgetting. We think Tupac was 50 years old. He was just 25. You look at what Ja Morant is doing at 23. So they give you some perspective. Like, no, Tupac didn't live to be just 25 years old. So with that said, Tupac also a Black Panther Cub. He was a revolutionary. He was. And, a lot of times revolutionaries are misunderstood. And he was a man. He was flawed. He had lust. How Do You Want It video. You hear the tales about how Tupac was having a free fall with some of the women in the How Do You Want It video. He did things to excess. But I think he had more of an understanding of his purpose than Ja Morant does at this point in his life. I really do. I don't think Tupac this and that. I think people still misunderstand what Tupac was here for. I wish he could have stayed longer, but then he said something to the effect. Cause I remember when Reverend Jasper Williams did the eulogy for Aretha Franklin. My mom used to go to his brother's church in Memphis, Reverend Alton Williams. When you come to Memphis, like, it's a place called World Overcomers on the Kirby Parkway in Winchester. They made the news some years ago because he actually commissioned the Statue of Liberation through Christ. It's a take on the Statue of Liberty, but it's actually like a statue dedicated to Christianity and to the Bible, the Bible. So you got the Statue of Liberation through Christ. Instead of holding a torch, I think she's holding the cross. And that thing been at that location, I want to say since 2006 or 2007. So it even made the New York Times. So this is Alton Williams, Reverend Alton Williams' brother, Reverend Jasper Williams. He did the eulogies for both Aretha Franklin and her father, C.L. Franklin, back in the day. And I guess he got in a lot of trouble because he was talking about, I guess he was critiquing the black community in a way, the black matriarchy, and people got upset at him. And but it's like, I think Tupac would have agreed with some of the stuff he was saying about the state of affairs that relates to the so-called black community, the lack of masculinity, the lack of a patriarchy, the dominant matriarchy. This haven't gotten us anywhere anywhere soon. And Tupac said something to the effect that if he had a father in his life, he probably would be less emotional, slower to anger, think more logical. Because Tupac, he advocated for women. Dear Mama, that song was an anthem. Keep your head up and all that stuff. He did your How Do You Want It, and Brenda Got a Baby. He did some very woke songs for that time, dealing with empathizing with black women, showing compassion for black women or women in general. But he was, but Tupac was very emotional. Sometimes he was passionate. I ain't gonna say he was very passionate. But like you said, the way he spoke, because he grew up with a mom that was an activist. His passion. He saw how his mama communicated her passion. He emulated some of that, but he didn't meet his father until he was shot the first time after the Quad Studios incident. Like, he talks about how he woke up in his hospital bed. He saw this dude that looked just like him, but he's only light skinned. And that's Billy Garland, who was a truck driver, or he was a truck driver at one point. But Billy Garland had a family full of sons. And Tupac actually liked Billy Garland's mom, who died when she was young. And when he was young, Billy was young. But if you look at a picture of Tupac's grandmother and put it side by side with him, it's like, yeah, that is your child, Billy. But Billy didn't know he existed until he got shot the first time. And for whatever reason, Finney did not let him know that he had a son with her. But this was during the time of free love and stuff like that. But this has been 60 years in the making. The destruction of the black family, and the destruction of all families. Now, it's not just the black family, but it started with black people, because we are the guinea pigs and lab rats of this great American experiment. We are the guinea pigs and lab rats of this great American experience. So they broke up the black family 60 years ago. Both set of my black grandparents were married with kids. You fast forward now, it's like you got a lot of women, black women with a lot of kids by themselves. And like, this is like a legacy of Claudine, the movie. I always talk about Claudine. I used to love looking at Claudine back in the day, but now I see it as less funny as I got older, because it shows you how the government worked as a policy to make sure that black men or black masculinity was not present in black households. This is why you got boys or men or males acting the way they do in their feelings like women. I didn't say they were gay. I'm saying that a lot of these dudes got feminine responses to man stuff. These guys being their feeling, they act like their mamas and aunts and sisters, because they never had a man to model themselves out to learn how to deal with their emotions, to learn how to channel their emotions into a passion, into a focus, in order to achieve a goal. See, we suffer from that. You got a lot of men in retirement homes in their 40s and 50s, because they had, they were Rolling Stones, and they couldn't roll no more. One day they rolled them into the nursing homes, and they had kids everywhere, but they had no relationships with their kids or with the baby mamas and all that. So they came of a certain age and they found themselves all alone. This is real talk. There's a lot of men in their 50s in retirement homes and nursing homes, and they have nobody to come to visit them, because they didn't take the time to, not only they took the time to have fun and make the child, but they didn't take the time to raise the child, to instill certain principles and things, and create a rites of passage for the child. So this is where we at right now. This is truly a fatherless America. So masculinity, not just black masculinity, but masculinity in general, has been under attack in this country, all by design. You cannot have a family without both a man and a woman at the head. So this is where we at. So I look at Ja Morant, even though, his thing came from a two-parent household, his parents are still together and stuff, from my understanding. And they'll be around my age, I think. I think they're in their 40s. I'm still trying to get used to the fact that I could be somebody's grandparent at this point. I don't got no kids right now, as far as I know, but that's where we at. So, let me close the job thing. I'll talk all around the world. You see. There you go, Law Dog. That's the spirit. Appreciate that. Hello, brother from the Windy City. Hello from the city of good abode. It's Memphis, Tennessee. Our good brother William. Thank you for tuning out. There you go. Good vibes. Good vibes. But yeah, Tupac, you know, there's a tape online. I think you can find on YouTube with Tupac having a phone conversation with that legendary gangbanger and activist Monster Cody. You know, Monster Cody passed not too long ago, but him and Tupac was having a conversation. It's about like a 30 or 40-minute tape, talking about how they would bring all the street gangs together. Because Tupac knew about the work of Fred Hampton. He grew up understanding who Fred Hampton was, like I said earlier. And he was willing to put his life on the line to help bring his people together. But Tupac was so misunderstood, and we allowed this trickster media to tell us who our heroes and sheroes are. And Tupac was he was a targeted individual. Tupac was a targeted individual. Y'all talking about, I'm a targeted individual, I'm being gang stalked. Well, they gang stalked and targeted Tupac before there was a social media on the internet, you know. Tupac was most definitely targeted by the government because he had the potential to be their black messiah to electrify and unify the masses, as they say. See. But anyway, let me with the Ja Morant thing, I want to add one more thing. If I can find it. Add one more thing. It's because somebody said he didn't break no law. He didn't break no law. That's why I say it's fake outrage. Which Chris Rock said selective outrage. I want to share this. Y'all know what y'all looking at? This is like Article 6, Section 9 of the NBA Players Agreement. Something like that. Their contract, collective bargaining thing. This is from the NBA. I want y'all to look at that. This is Article 6, Section 9. It talks about the firearms. And let me see. I'm gonna read it, but I just want to share it. Firearms and okay. I'm sorry about that. This is like a lot of stuff, but read it correctly. Man, I'm so tired, man. I like I don't have no time to do anything, but I just wanted to go live with this information because it's very important. I think it's important. So we gotta control our media. So this is Article 6, Section 9 of the NBA stuff. This is like their rules. These are the official rules and regulations as it relates to the NBA and their players. So this is, I'm trying to read it. So Article 6, Section 9 deals with firearms and other weapons. Okay, this is what they said. This is part of their contractual agreement, you know, as far as player conduct concerned, NBA players. So it says, whenever a player is physically present at a facility or venue owned, operated, or being used by a team, the NBA, or any league-related entity, and whenever a player is traveling on any NBA-related business, whether on behalf of the player's team, the NBA, or any league-related entity, such player shall not possess a firearm of any kind or any other deadly weapon. For purposes of the foregoing, a facility or venue includes, but is not limited to, an arena, a practice facility, a team or league office or facility, an all-star or NBA playoff venue, and the site of a promotional or charitable appearance. So this is part B of this section 9, okay? At the commencement of each season, and if the player owns or possesses any firearm, the player will provide the team with proof that the player possesses a license or registration as required by law for any such firearm. Each player is also required to provide the team with proof of any modifications or additions made to this information during the season. This is part C. Any violation of section 9 part A or section 9 part B above shall be considered conduct prejudicial to the NBA under Article 35D of the NBA Constitution and bylaws, and shall therefore subject the player to discipline by the NBA in accordance with such article. So that, like, what law did he break? I mean, he didn't have the gun at a facility or venue that was connected to the NBA. And also, they say he needed a license and registration. If he got his gun out like that in Memphis, Tennessee, state of Tennessee is open and carry. You don't need a license and registration to have a gun in the state of Tennessee, as far as I know. According to Governor Bill Lee, is it Bill Lee? You don't need to have registration or license to carry a gun in Tennessee. So what law did he break? And then, Article 6, Section 10, one penalty. So, okay, this is Part A of Article 6, Section 10. Part A states the NBA and a team shall not discipline a player for the same act or conduct. Let me say that again. It says the NBA and a team shall not discipline a player for the same act or conduct. The NBA's disciplinary action will preclude or supersede disciplinary action by any team for the same act or conduct. That's interesting. So Part B of Article 6, Section 10, when the NBA becomes aware of any potential or actual disciplinary action which may be or has been imposed by a team for a player's act or conduct, the NBA may within 48 hours prohibit the discipline from being imposed or rescind the discipline that has been imposed as applicable. If the NBA prohibits or rescinds the discipline, only the NBA shall thereafter be permitted to impose discipline on the player for that act or conduct. If the NBA does not prohibit or rescind the team's discipline, the team may impose its proposed discipline, or the team's discipline will remain in effect as applicable. And if the team's discipline becomes effective or remains in effect, the NBA may not thereafter impose discipline on the player for that act or conduct. Now, this is Part C of Article 6, Section 10. Notwithstanding anything to the contrary contained in Sections 10A or 10B, the same act or conduct by a player may result in both a termination of the player's uniform player contract by his team and the suspension of the player by the NBA if the egregious nature of the act or conduct is so lacking in justification as to warrant such double penalty, and both the NBA and the team to which a player is traded may impose discipline for a player's failure to report for a trade in accordance with paragraph. They do a lot of double talk to cover themselves. This is Section 10, Part D of the Uniform Player Contract. So the thing about it is, as you can tell, it's very confusion to a little bit, but at the same time, what law did he break? He didn't break any law. He just had poor judgment, but he didn't go out and use that gun to rob the DoorDash driver or Uber driver or anything like that. He didn't do anything that was criminal. He just was, it's like he was having a good time. So I'm not going to be as hard on Ja Morant as some of these so-called talking heads who like to count other people's money. I just think that hopefully the brother could get some people around him to educate him better, on how to use his platform to empower people in this city who really love him. I guess they love him because he's a basketball player and he's very popular, very electrifying, dynamic, athletic basketball player. But the thing about it is, I mean, how long is he going to play in the league? I mean, because Ja plays at a high level, is like acrobatic. You know, he's high jumping and all that. That takes a wear on your body. You know what I'm saying? So what does life holds for Ja post basketball? You know, it'd be interesting to see how that plays out. But my thing is this: I think the leadership is responsible for how Ja conducts himself as well. Taylor Jenkins, I don't know why he can't get a hold of his team. Like I'm with Kyrie Irving. I don't believe he should have went out there and said that his team was immature. They should handle some of that stuff that they want to make public in house. But Ja is the face of their franchise. So my thing is like I don't get tied up into these team sports. Like there's a lot of people in Memphis they hated that Ja got himself in this situation again. They worry about can Memphis win a championship. I don't really care at this point because the ownership of this Memphis Grizzlies team can leave Memphis for greener pastures at any moment, you know, within the next 3 years. He could go make sure that Seattle have a team again because the Supersonics became the Oklahoma City Thunder. You know, Kevin Durant was drafted by the Seattle Supersonics, and then they became the Oklahoma City Thunder. So I think, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, y'all correct me if that's not right. I don't know. I'm not gonna look it up. But so he didn't break no rules. He didn't have no gun at an NBA facility. He didn't. He wasn't at the FedEx Forum, from what I can tell, posting with a gun. You know, that's where the Grizzlies play their home games, the FedEx Forum, and the governor or the government of Tennessee just gave the city $350 million to renovate the FedEx Forum. But yet you got these parks in Memphis that are truly eyesores. Like I'm gonna do a video about the Otis Redding Park. Though you know there's an Otis Redding Park in Memphis, the great soul singer from Stax, from by the way of Dawson, Georgia, Macon, Georgia. They have a park for him, but that park is in terrible, terrible shape. Maybe someone like Ja Morant could use some of his money and goodwill. You know, he could rehab his image by helping me clean up these parks in Memphis, starting with the Otis Redding Park. That's another story. Yeah. And I can't believe we over an hour now. Thank you, brother, for tuning out to tune in. I always appreciate you, you good brother, man. A lot of y'all in here. Hey, thank you, brother Jerome, for People's Republic of Cordova. You know, I heard you know, Ja had his run-ins at the what they call that wolf chase, right? His mama called him for the incident at finish line. I'm sure they got a lot more dirt on brother Ja. They're gonna slow leak everything now. And my thing is, like I said, I don't count another man money. I think I read somewhere the headline. They said that he lost about $39 million this year. But I'm like, I mean, one thing about Ja Morant, he's like he's a pretty good tipper. You know what I'm saying? Not only at the strip club, but he's known for leaving like $500 bills as a tip for waitresses and waiters and stuff. So he's like got a big heart. I don't know him like that, but I'm saying like I'm not really that invested in the Memphis Grizzlies like that. You know, Memphis Grizzlies been blessed having several pretty good teams over the years. But the thing about what makes this so sad for a lot of people is that a lot of people believe that this team with Ja Morant, as deep as it is with Ja Morant and Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. So you can't blame what Ja doing on Dylan Brooks. I thought that the Memphis Grizzlies did Dylan Brooks dirty. I know people say they got a hard time dealing with Dylan Brooks. But I really do believe that Dylan Brooks got a future in wrestling, like WWE style, you know, wrestling. I think he got a future in that because he is he'll play the ultimate heel. I had no problem with Dylan Brooks, but that is weird how all these folks started attacking him online. But you know, he was like, you know, Josh said everything's fine in the West. Everything is not fine in the West, brother Josh, because you got fined. He's losing a lot of money, but I believe they say he lost about $39 million because of the previous incident as well as this incident. He's losing sponsorships, but I don't really care because it's not my business. He still got a lot more money than a lot of us got in this city. So just be grateful for what you got. That's an interesting point. It would be very interesting if the NRA would come to Ja Morant's aid and put an end to all this firearms jazz. Yeah, but they ain't come. What about Philando Castile? You remember Philando Castile? That the summer 2016, how all these black men being killed by the police in America. And Philando Castile, he had his license and registration. He told the cop, I got a gun on me, but I got my license and registration, and the cop still killed him in front of his girlfriend and her child on Facebook Live. And the NRA didn't come to his defense. I mean, these people like it don't see the thing about it is what made the Black Panthers really dangerous is because they went to the state capital of California with their guns. But the law allowed them to be able to have their guns on full display like that. But they changed the law. It's something about giving guns to black men. It's something about black men having access to guns. Because we make some of the best soldiers. You know what I'm saying? Like the Civil War was won because they started getting U.S. colored troops. When the Union Army, when Uncle Sam started enlisting black men, that's when the war was won. Black soldiers won the West. You know, that song that Bob Marley got called Buffalo Soldiers. And then Dick Gregory, you know, he did some work with Bob Marley. Bob Marley wanted Dick Gregory to work with him at that famous concert he did in Massachusetts, I believe. And Dick wasn't going for it at first because he told Bob Marley, man, you just you know how Dick was a younger man then, so but he got more ornery when he got older. You know, Dick was like, you know, he had no filters, but he basically told Bob Marley, I ain't want to work with you because your Buffalo Soldier song and how you basically celebrated black soldiers committing genocide on Native Americans. So Bob Marley, I believe, apologized to Dick, and Dick ended up being the MC for the historic event. Like there's pictures of Dick Gregory with Bob Marley at the press conference for the event. I mean, I think Law Dog might know about that more because she's like definitely a reggae person. I think she know what I'm talking about. But the thing about it is that you had Native Americans that owned slaves, that owned black people. You know, the legacy of the freemen. You had Native Americans that owned. You had they called them the 5 civilized tribes because they owned slaves. They owned black people, just like the white man. So you know, the founder of the Ku Klux Klan, Albert Pike, used to live in Memphis in Arkansas. He was from Boston, but he was a Scottish Rite Freemason. But he was the first. He was the founder of the Ku Klux Klan. Used to be the Confederate general for Native American tribes. Like when the Indians joined the Confederacy, he was their leader for a lot of them who wanted to protect their right to own slaves. This is real talk. This is real American history. So not like Native Americans were innocent. You had Native Americans that owned black people. You can look this up. Take a look. It's all online. But why am I talking about this? I don't know why I'm talking about this. I'm just out here in the breeze. But okay. Let me get back on track. But anyway, I don't know why I talked about that. Yeah, the NRA ain't helping. Okay, they're not interested in helping black folks protect themselves. You know, it's 2 instances. Let me talk about the gun. 2 incidents that happened. You know, this May, you know, the end of May marks the anniversary for the Tulsa race massacre that happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma back in May and June of 1921. What they don't tell you, you know, if you're going to teach critical race theory, be critical and teach all the history. Don't be selective and teach some of the history. Teach all the history. Because like the Tulsa race massacre, what people don't understand, that only lasts like basically a 24-hour period. But at first, the black folks were winning because you had World War I veterans coming home from World War I after making the world safe for democracy, right? You had black men that knew how to use guns and wasn't afraid to use them in defense of their family, of their lives, of their community. So black men were actually sniping and killing a whole bunch of white men. See, that's the story they don't tell you. You could go look at video interviews by survivors of the race massacre who are no longer with us. They did video interviews of some of the survivors, and one lady in particular, she was a renowned educator. I can't think of her name. She was saying that the black men killed so many white men that the white folks was taking the bodies and dumping them in the I think the Arkansas River. What was that river that runs by Tulsa? Is that the Arkansas River or something? They killed so many white people. The black men did. The white folks had to just dump all these white folks in the river to cover up the actual casualty count. Because I think the Arkansas River, I think it's the Arkansas River. I don't know at this point. It's almost midnight, so I'm kind of fuzzy wuzzy. But just correct me in the comment section. But the Arkansas River had quicksand in it, so the bodies will be covered up real quick, from my understanding. But when the so-called law authorities came on the scene, the black men turned themselves in. They turned over their guns and turned themselves in, and they put the black men in the concentration camps. And this is when they burnt down Black Wall Street. Once the black men thought, okay, it's law enforcement, this is the law. We respect the law around here. Let's turn ourselves in. As soon as they did that, they were put in concentration camps, and the white folks burned down Black Wall Street, destroyed every building, basically. But what also they don't tell you about Black Wall Street is that the black folks came back, and Black Wall Street was bigger, blacker, more prosperous than ever. It was the powers that be that destroyed Black Wall Street when they built the freeway through the community, which stopped them from building buildings at a certain height. And then they started doing a thing called urban renewal. I think James Baldwin called it Negro removal. It was a form of gentrification. Get rid of black people. Then they got rid of Jim Crow. So I mean, black folks go wherever they want to go and do business and support. Because like Jim Crow was actually good in a way for black people because it forced us to deal with each other. It made our bonds a little bit stronger. You know, so it made us understand who our friend and foe was. Not all of us, but we had a little bit more clarity than we do now. So let's talk about, and also the People's Grocery lynching, the lynchings at the curve. This happened back on March the 9th, I think 1892 in Memphis, Tennessee. 3 black businessmen were lynched by a white mob because they were successful grocers in Memphis. They had the People's Grocery in Memphis. And Thomas Moss was a leader of the black community. He was a well-respected leader in the Memphis community by both blacks and whites to a certain degree. And Ida B. Wells, he was real close to Ida B. Wells. Ida B. Wells Barnett was the godmother to his daughter. He had a son on the way. He had a beautiful young family. He had a son on the way. When the white guy named, I think, William Barrett, he had a grocery store across the street that was in competition with the People's Grocery Store. But the People's Grocery Store was not only getting the black dollar, they were getting everybody money. Like all types of race, ethnicities visited and did business with their store. So the white man wanted to seize the property and put them out of business. So he organized a white mob to attack the store. Thomas Moss and his guys was in there. It's a couple of small incidents that happened that led up to this big incident. And I'll let y'all do the research on like the genesis of what happened, what caused the People's Grocery lynching. But it's like people gotta understand most of the major lynchings were done concerning black business. A lot of people that were lynched in this country were black business people. And they were lynched for their businesses, for their land. Plain and simple. You can look this up. But this was no exception. So the black men, they had a rifle club. The black men had a rifle club. So Thomas Moss, his business associates, and their supporters, they brought in the rifle club to protect their grocery store. So the white mob came to attack the grocery store, and the black men stood their ground and fired their guns into the white mob. Unfortunately for them, some people in the white mob were law enforcement. They was in plain clothes. They didn't know who they were. And they really were breaking the law. It's almost like January the 6th, ain't it? But when the black men saw that they shot in the crowd and they injured some white cops, they turned themselves in. They were kidnapped from their jail cell. Newspaper was there. White newspapers was there to cover everything. They kidnapped these men from the prison, took them to North Memphis by the train tracks, and mutilated their bodies. Like they lynched them. Like they shot them in the face, blew their faces off, blew their fingers off. This is did horrible things to these black men. And I believe the last man standing was Thomas Moss, Ida B. Wells Barnett friend, and the godmother to his daughter. He begged for his life. He said, "Look, I got a young family. My wife is pregnant. Can you please spare my life?" They said, "No, we cannot spare your life." And they probably said it worse than when I'm saying it. Then they asked him if he had any last words. And I believe he did have last words. Allegedly, he said that, tell my people to go west because they can't get any justice here. Tell my people to go west because they cannot get any justice here. They end up slaughtering him and his friend. I mean, they mutilated him. I mean, they shot it, just blew his face off and all types of stuff. But anyway, Ivy Wells was very sad, depressed, and angry. She learned about the last words her friend said. In the newspaper that she owned, she published those last words. She encouraged black folks to leave Memphis in droves. They like, go west. They don't want us here. Like over 6,000 black folks left Memphis. And guess where they went? They went to Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street, what I just talked about. So they even had a People's Grocery Store in Tulsa and Black Wall Street at the beginning. I need to do some research on what was the real reason why they had these People's Grocery Stores. Like, were they like a front for revolutionary activity? I'm curious now. But anyway, that is that. And even like the most popular or most, I say popular, the most prominent person to get killed in the Tulsa Race Massacre was a black doctor born in Memphis named Dr. Andrew Jackson. He was born February 13th, 1879 in Memphis, Tennessee. The Mayo brothers who created the Mayo Clinic, the famous Mayo Clinic, I think up in Minnesota, I think, they said that Dr. Jackson was the greatest Negro surgeon in the whole country. He invented surgery tools that are still used to this day. That's how great of a brilliant man he was. But he was shot down like a dog in front of his home during the Tulsa Race Massacre. His next door neighbor was a former police chief and judge named John Oliphant, I think. He begged the white mob, don't kill this man. This man's a very prominent man. He's a good friend to the whites and the blacks in this community. He helped save lives, but by him saying that did not save this man's life. I believe he was shot down by a 14-year-old white kid, and then they started dumping bullets into his body until he was dead. And he was just like 42 or 43 years old when this happened. So anyway, what else? Let's talk about Trump, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about Trump. Let's talk about it. I don't want to talk about Trump. It's about Trump, baby. Let's talk about all the things that can be. Let's talk about Trump. Let's talk about Trump. Let's talk about Trump. Let's talk about Trump. And this is where I'm going to end the show. I think I'm going to do a take on Jesse Belvin later on. I'm so tired, man. Oh, my God. Oh, I feel like I'm sleepwalking. Let's see. Thank y'all for being patient. I really love it. Is this it? MAGA naga. MAGA naga. MAGA? MAGA MAGA? The MAGA MAGA? MAGA. Yes, Donald J. Trump, the 47th president of the United States. Or is it the 45th president? Will he still be the 45th president if he wins this time around? Or he's the 47th president? Man, I'm going to tell you. Oh, my God. That CNN town hall was amazing. Like in words of Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson. No, Jesse Lee Peterson, y'all. amazing, 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 amazing. Donald Trump really showed his tail. Man, God bless Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the man. I really enjoyed that town hall, man. He really handled himself truly beyond category. What is sad about the whole thing is not Trump issue, it's the people's issue. Why can't people figure out that there's a reason why they dog this man so much in the so-called mainstream media or mainstream media? There's a reason why they want so-called black people to not to like this man. This man is not against black people. Yeah, I said he's not against black people. Black folks, we got such a narrow understanding of true politics. Politics has nothing to do if they like you. Ooh, I think they like me. I think they like me. Black folks, do they like me? Will Trump have a chicken dinner with me? A two-piece with me? With an extra biscuit? Could I have dinner with you? I don't care if I ever had a chance. If I ever have a chance to have dinner with Trump, let alone chicken dinner, they ain't the point. The point is we vote the same way. I'm in Memphis. Memphis is a Democrat city. Chicago is a Democrat city. California is a Democratic state. Look how they being run into the ground. I could go on and on. Democratic led and controlled cities ain't safe for nobody. And the thing about it is, Trump really is an American patriot. He's trying to save America from itself. And y'all look at it wrong. Y'all say, well, Trump is corrupt. Trump, he said it was rigged. He never said he didn't benefit from it. This is what y'all don't get. He said the game was rigged and it's rigged. But he never said he didn't benefit from it. But at the same time, why not have somebody that knows how people cut corners in the office to do right by the American people? It's like you go back in time. Franklin Roosevelt made Joe Kennedy, the patriarch of the Kennedy family, the first chairman of the Security Exchange Commission. That I believe that's what it's called, the SEC. Franklin Roosevelt people could not understand why they allowed this man, who was known as the ultimate inside trader, why they allow a fox into the hen house. And basically, Franklin Roosevelt said something to the effect, it takes a crook to catch a crook. Like, why not have the guy who understands how to game the system be in charge to make sure that things are done in a more ethical way? If he knows all the tricks of the trade, he can spot some irregularities and hopefully straighten out the process where it could be a little bit more fairer and transparent for all people. So this is what I'm talking about. Trump knows where the bodies are buried, bada bing, bada boom. Like he said in one of his debates some years ago, back in 2016, somebody asked him, you filed for bankruptcy, you don't pay your contractors and all that. He said, well, yeah, I filed for bankruptcy several times, but my family never went hungry. They always had a place to stay. He never filed for personal bankruptcy. He filed for bankruptcy to protect his business interests and reorganize stuff. But what I'm saying is, Trump is more deserving of the Nobel Peace Prize than Obama ever was. Remember when they gave him the Nobel Peace Prize, Obama was perplexed by it. He looked perplexed to me and said, why y'all giving me this award? Well, I'm the drone ranger. Barack was droning folks out the planet, man. And also, Barack deported more people than any president in history at the time when he left the office. I don't know what it was true now, but they said that Barack Obama deported more immigrants than anybody, than any president. Yeah, y'all mad at Donald Trump for trying to build a wall to protect America's interests. I just don't get it with us, man. We are gluttons for punishment. Y'all love Calvin Candy and y'all hate John Brown. John Brown stir up the trouble for them good white folks. John Brown making trouble for all them good white people. White folks been good to us. Why John Brown causing so much trouble? Y'all, we sick bosses. Most of us, we sick bosses. But with Trump, like I told Dick Gregory, Trump daddy was a Klansman, allegedly. Fred Trump was in the Klan, supposedly. There's an article from the New York Times, June 1927, talking about a Klan rally held in Queens, New York. The Klan got into it with the police in Queens. And in the newspaper, they said they arrested a Fred Trump of Queens. So Donald Trump people from Queens, man. You know, Donald Trump daddy was contracting with the government to build projects. He built suburban homes for GIs, like World War II veterans. He helped build suburban homes or whatever, but also he had contracts with the government to build projects. I want to say that he built Queensbridge project. Donald Trump did. You know, Queensbridge is an amazing space. If you ever been to Queens, I love Queens, New York. But I stayed at a hotel by the Queensbridge, the Howard Johnson by Queensbridge projects. And you know what I mean? There's a lot of great rappers that came out that project. You know, not to mention Nas. Nas is one of the greatest of all time, but he's from Queensbridge. So that project, you know, produced a lot of great rap icons and legends and stuff. So, but Donald Trump, father, I believe, built that. You know, but it takes a crook to catch a crook. I don't hold it against Donald Trump, but you know, it's funny. Donald Trump could be a time traveler because he's not an ordinary Joe. Like I said, with Donald Trump, if Donald Trump and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. could run as a unity ticket, oh man, there'll be a threat, boy. There'll be a threat. That would be an ultimate threat for this system to be shook from its core because Donald Trump, like JFK, he's a Gemini. And Donald Trump was groomed to become president. Donald Trump uncle, and I say this because that Mar-a-Lago thing where they raided his Mar-a-Lago mansion and documents. All presidents get a chance to take stuff home from their administration. That part of the National Archives collection. That's all presidents do that, but they got to think about Trump doing it because Trump know about some very important government secrets that we the people should know about, and that's what they're really afraid of, that he'll release that information. But he's sitting on it, but he knows. His uncle was John Trump, who was an MIT professor, an award-winning MIT professor, very brilliant man. But before he became an MIT professor, he worked for the government. When Nikola Tesla died in his hotel room in New York, I think January the 7th, 1943, the government told John Trump to look into his notebooks to see if he had any discoveries or made, anything they could pursue, I guess, in terms of a weapon. I think they said that Tesla made a doomsday weapon and it exploded in Russia. Some all type of crazy stuff. Anyway, that's his uncle, John Trump. That's one of his favorite relatives. He used to talk to his uncle all the time, from my understanding. They had a deep relationship. Then you had Roy Cohn, the famous lawyer, the infamous lawyer from New York, mob lawyer, legal counsel for Senator Joseph McCarthy. That was one of Donald Trump's key mentors. Even Richard Nixon saw that Donald Trump had potential to be a great president. I think he got in touch with Richard Nixon. I think Richard Nixon wrote him a letter or called him and said, "Look, you'll make a great president one day." That was Richard Nixon, I believe, told Donald Trump. Whatever you think about Richard, I am not a crook. He told it, he told like it was, how he saw it. But Roy Cohn was legal counsel for Senator Joseph McCarthy. You know who else worked as legal counsel for Senator Joseph McCarthy? Robert F. Kennedy Sr. RFK Jr.'s father was a part of Senator Joseph McCarthy's legal team to help expose how the government was compromised by communists. Now, people say it was a witch hunt, but time has proven that Joseph McCarthy was telling the truth about you had these communists placed in high positions in the government. And, they exposed the Rosenbergs. These were like Jewish couple that were spies for Russia. They put them to death back in the day. This is Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. Now, the guy who ended up taking in their sons was named Mayor Poole, something like that. I think he was Jewish. So he was a Jewish guy that wrote Strange Fruit. Y'all think Billie Holiday wrote this song, but it was a white Jewish guy, I think. Like his name, Mayor Poole, something like that wrote Strange Fruit. that Billie Holiday made famous on Infamous. Consider your source of information. But Joseph McCarthy used to date some of the Kennedy sisters, and Joseph Kennedy, the patriarch of the Kennedy family, really had a love for Senator Joseph McCarthy, and Robert F. Kennedy Sr. did too, because his firstborn child was Senator Joseph McCarthy's goddaughter. I think Kathleen Kennedy Townsend, who was Lieutenant Governor of Maryland at one point. She lost her daughter and grandson right during the pandemic days. Like they drowned in a lake or something out in Maryland, and they found their bodies. They still killing Kennedys, man. Don't believe the hype. But yeah, Senator Joseph McCarthy was the godfather of Robert F. Kennedy's firstborn child, his daughter, Kathleen Kennedy Townsend. And they got rid of Joe McCarthy at Bethesda Naval Hospital. He went in. They say he died from some type of knee issue. I said, how did he die from that? And then Bethesda Naval Hospital was the same place where they did the weird autopsy on JFK, John F. Kennedy Jr. Not John F. Kennedy Jr., but John F. Kennedy Sr. They did the weird autopsy where they botched it. And when Reagan got shot in 81, was it 81 when Reagan got shot? They were trying to take him to Naval Bethesda Hospital. According to a source, the late, great John Judge, who I interviewed a couple of times on We All Be, they said that they were trying to get him to Naval Bethesda, the Naval Hospital in Bethesda, to finish him off. But somebody said, well, George Washington University Hospital is much closer than the hospital in Bethesda. So they sent Reagan to George Washington University Hospital. That what saved his life, because they're trying to finish the job at the Naval Bethesda Hospital thing. And that's where they got rid of Frantz Fanon. Y'all know about the Pan-African author, Frantz Fanon. He went to the hospital in Bethesda, the Naval Hospital in Bethesda, Maryland, and they put an end to him. Frantz Fanon, Wretched of the Earth. Y'all know, if you into Pan-Africanism and Black liberation, y'all know who Frantz Fanon is. He came here to get treatment for leukemia, allegedly, and they got rid of him at the hospital, the Naval Hospital in Bethesda. Then James Forrestal, the first Secretary of Defense, he got killed at the Navy Hospital in Bethesda, Maryland. He got thrown from a 16th floor window. They said it was suicide, but he knew too much about he was part of Majestic 12. He knew about UFOs and all this stuff. And also, he was against Zionism. He didn't want, he was against forming the state of Israel. He was against the United States being involved in helping to establish the state of Israel. Harry Truman, it happened on his watch, the formation of Israel. But he didn't want Harry Truman to do that, to acknowledge or to support that movement. Next thing he splattered on the ground. He fell or committed suicide by jumping from the 16th floor, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm saying, why, Brother Ron, you talking about this? Well, when Trump got the COVID, he went to where he go? He went to the Naval Hospital in Bethesda, Maryland. And it was funny because Trump realized where he was at. Next thing you know, he's driving around in the golf cart or in the car. He waving to people. Look, everybody, I'm alive. Or to let them don't make them think that I'm dying. I'm very much alive. And he got the hell on down. He got the hell out of the Naval Hospital in Bethesda, Maryland, because he knew the history of the hospital, probably how people end up dying crazy deaths at a Naval Hospital in Bethesda, Maryland. But anyway, Trump still got his swagger. I can't imagine Joe Biden having that type of stamina and the endurance like this to deal with like disrespectful interviewer or she was taking it real personal. She was getting all her feelings. instead of asking the man questions, he's trying to challenge his point of view on how he saw the miselection in 2020 and some other things. And Trump stood his ground, and he was a man, and I respect that. I respect Mr. President for doing what he had to do to prove, and that should be a lesson for people, man. Don't let these folks make you go away by throwing charges on you. Don't you know how strange it is for a president to go through what Trump has been through? This man's been impeached twice. They only impeached Andrew Johnson once. Nixon resigned before they could impeach him, and Donald Trump got impeached twice, and he won. And they were trying to say it was Russian collusion the first time. No, what happened was they didn't cheat hard enough. They took Donald Trump for granted. They didn't realize that there were people out here that not only liked him but loved him because he was refreshing, because he spoke his truth. He spoke things that people only thought about. If they speak it out loud, they'll lose everything. They'll be canceled. Like a bad check, So we need a Donald Trump right now. He was a peacemaker. We never got into any major wars when Donald Trump was in the helm. Gas, egg, and bread didn't cost as much when Donald Trump was around. And also, black folks could get a little bit more money to do certain things. When Donald Trump was actually serious about helping black entrepreneurship. Like, he was meeting with Ice Cube people. He had the platinum plan for black people. He was like, his people met with Ice Cube and his people for the contract for Black America. Joe Biden has yet to meet with Ice Cube for the contract for Black America. Because like Joe Biden said, if you don't vote Democrat, you ain't black, because, you don't belong to us if you don't vote Democrat, because you got to stay on the plantation, boy. You got to stay on that plantation. But anyway, Donald Trump, man, like, he didn't back down. He didn't let them people, like, even with the so-called, they had a civil suit. They found him liable or whatever for owning a woman. The woman said that he raped her in a dressing room closet in a busy department store. That don't even sound right. Donald Trump too recognizable to be trying to do that and come out the hell dressing room and he won't be noticed. Come on, man. It is crazy, but anyway. Let's see what y'all saying in the chat. I'm gonna get on out of here. That's my Bev House Berry, yeah. Yeah, I can have a good time here. So, okay. So Trump, 2024 is looking interesting right now because, like, a lot of people counted Trump out. Trump is a fighter, and you want people to fight even when they're supposed to be down and out. But Trump has not gave up, give in, or give out, and he looks good at his age. He's almost 80 years old, but you can tell he's very vibrant and energetic and enthused about reclaiming his narrative and reclaiming his legacy. So I wish Mr. President all the best on his endeavors. And I guess I'll revisit this at another time with the Trump thing. But if you haven't seen the town hall, you need to check it out, man. It's worth checking out. And these are amazing times to live in. And Trump is like, it's just refreshing. It's funny. It's funny how the rappers used to love Trump back in the day, man. People used to love Trump. Black people used to love Donald Trump. Now all of a sudden he's a pariah. Like, and you look at Joe Biden, how he got his hands all up in the cookie jars and whatnot. And nobody's saying anything. It's a double standard. Like, how can a man who majority of his 50 plus year political career has been dedicated to destroying the black family unit? I'm talking about not Donald Trump. I'm talking about Joe Biden. Master Joe. And black folks got the nerve to tell me we're gonna keep on voting Democrat till we turn blue in the face. Yeah, and even then they won't bury your monkey, you know what, in the ground. You just another whatever. Another one bites the dust. But I'm just saying, like, we need to understand that voting is not the most important political tool in the toolbox. It's not. It is not the most important tool in the political toolbox. But acknowledging and recognizing what your agenda should be, what your objective should be, and then galvanizing around said agenda and objective, pulling of resources for said agenda and objective. Not trying to follow people as a cult of personality, but really trying to revive ideas and manifest an alternate reality by dreaming bigger dreams and not letting fear get in the way of freedom. Don't let your fear get in the way of achieving real freedom. So anyway, I think that does it. Like the words from Brother Herb, please spread the word. Go on We All BTV to subscribe our YouTube channel. You can support the movement. Cash App R2C2H2. That's Cash App R2C2H2. You can Google Pay, PayPal, and Zelle your support R2C2H2 at gmail.com. You can Vimo your support at R2C2H2. You can Apple Cash your support 901-299-4355. Also join us on Patreon at We All Be. That's patreon.com/We All Be. Buy Art of His Art. R2C2H2.com. You can wear Art of His Art. I got the Brother M shirt and Baba Dick 2, whatever. MAGA, Malcolm, King, Young and Old Dick Gregory. Go below the description box if you're on YouTube. Access that official Teespring shelf we got down there for those things. But thank y'all so much for taking time out your schedules to hang out with your brother Ron. And I'm a real one because I'm Brother Ron. So let's see. Read a disclaimer. I'm getting out of here. I can't believe time going by this fast, man. I don't know. I don't understand how time flying like this. It's like boggles my mind. But anyway, I'm a disclaimer. The views expressed by host and guests on the We All Be TV platform are not the official views, opinions, beliefs, or perspectives of We All Be News or the We All Be Group Incorporated. We All Be News is an organization that thoroughly believes in supplementing the information narrative that is usually supplied by the corporate news entities with those viewpoints and expressions which may be marginalized or ignored for a plethora of reasons. We are about informing the general public on alternative perspectives as it relates to news and information, and letting the general public be the ultimate judge in deciding on how to use said information. Informed citizens are responsible citizens. Thank you for your support, and I want to thank you all so much for tuning out, to tune in, to get in where you fit in tonight. We appreciate y'all. We really do. So, with that said, y'all have a great night. Be lovable so you can receive and give love in return. And I guess that's it. Thank y'all so much. God bless. Thank you for the moderation, Law Dog, and the other people in the chat. I'm just checking out y'all conversation. Like y'all having a great time over there. We all be tribe. We all be in it to win it. So thank y'all so much. In the words of Great Duke Ellington, we love you madly. In the words of Brother Ron, keep on producing and pushing. One, get it right. Love. That look good though. Love. Oh my God. Why can't my fingers help betray me? It's one love. One love. One love. One love. One love, man.